Hi guys, sorry it's been a while since I've updated on the situation with Caitlin and her journey. We'll consider this her migraine journey part 2, and I just wanted to let y'all know where we're at in the situation. I had explained in a previous video, if you wanted to look that up, what was going on with her as far as headaches, migraines, and things like that. And then we went and saw an airway dentist in the Kansas City area. He did a CBCT scan and found all kinds of things going on there. She also has a grade 3 tongue tie. 4 is as worse as it gets as far as tongue tie goes, and explains her whole infancy to now, several issues there. So things are just making sense in her life. But I left it at, they recommended that she does a MMA surgery, which is a double jaw surgery on the top and the bottom, where they cut the jawbone basically and bring it forward. And the reason why that is recommended is because there's not room for her tongue. So because this area is so far set back, her tongue is set back and it's blocking the airway. When she was younger, she did have braces. She had 2 rounds of braces. And when they do braces, generally what they do is they'll expand the arch. So she did get that. So it would have been narrow like mine is. They expanded the arch, but when they do that, it doesn't necessarily bring this part forward. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll just bring it back in order, when the arch goes open, the teeth go back to make it go down more. And that sets the jaw back as well and can't allow it to go forward. So that's an issue. So there is new data, actually, it's been around for a long time, about, it's called forward orthodontics, to bring things forward, but that's very rare and hard to find. But they are working with appliances that allow growth for children, to allow things to move forward so that they can open up that airway for or open up the space for the tongue to come forward and open up the airway. Anyway, that's a different story for a different day. You can look into that if you want. So whenever we saw the airway dentist in Kansas City, he reviewed her case. He talked to other people, other providers, to see if they were all in agreement. And one thing he noticed in her x-ray was that the bone right behind her ear, I always forget what it's called. It starts with an M, and I'll think of it in a little bit. But anyway, it's the big bone right behind the ear, and it's part of the skull. And as that was growing when she was little, apparently when the bone laid down, because bone like breaks down and then builds up to grow, and as it was laying down, as it was growing, it didn't grow right, and so it looks glassy. He called it fibrous dysplasia. And so in an x-ray, when it's supposed to be dense, it's glassy, which means there's little holes all in it. And he said that could be one of the sources of her headaches, that whenever that was growing incorrectly, that it could be affecting the nerves there. So we are scheduled to see a plastic surgeon that he recommended. That when we think plastic surgery, we think like changing the face. Plastic just means changing something. And so this guy is specialized in these sorts of things, to see if that bone could be potentially a cause of pain from the way the bone runs with the nerves there. But he also needs to see if she would be a candidate for the MMA surgery, to see if her bones would grow right or repair right if she had that cut and then brought forward. So we're waiting on that to see where that goes. Meanwhile, we have, I don't know if I mentioned this last video, we have put her on a CPAP machine just to help her with airway at night. It is helping her some. She didn't notice right away that there were helps, but she had gone a weekend without it, and then realized when she used it again later that she was clearer in her brain and things. But that hasn't taken away the headaches, but it is helping her some. I'm full-blown in myofunctional therapy training right now, and there's so much information and so many things, so many dots that are connected now. It's unbelievable, not just with her, but even for myself now. I know I also have likely a grade 3 tongue tie, just like she has. She got it from me. I got it from my dad. He got it from his dad. He got it from his dad. It's just genetic on the tongue tie thing. For me, it affects more my neck and swallowing, things like that. But that's a different story for a different day. So I am planning on, one of the things that have been big for her that I'm noticing as I learn is her breathing. And it's, again, I've been given full permission to talk about this, but her breathing has always been, it's not so much to the mouth, which is a huge thing. We don't want mouth breathing at all, because mouth breathing is stress breathing, and it's too much air, too much carbon dioxide, oxygen exchange, and that puts you in a fight or flight stress mode all the time. It's like chronic. But for her, and I'm the same way, I'm now breathing with my mouth closed, but it's more upper chest breathing and it's faster breathing. And that still, it's kind of like think you're having a panic attack or hyperventilating. It's very fast breathing. It's basically that, only long term. And there's a lot of effects from that are health-wise. One of the things is when you're breathing through your chest and quick breathing, it's still stress breathing, and it's putting your body in that fight or flight mode, so you're living in that constantly. Whenever you are breathing, belly breathing down here, I mean, the diaphragm is that muscle there that was intended to help you breathe your lungs to go up and down to breathe in the air, up to push out the air. And I know for me, most of mine is up here in the chest, but in the lower parts of our lungs, there's a vagus nerve, and whenever the diaphragm is working to trigger that vagus nerve at the lower part of our lungs, then it puts us in the parasympathetic state, which is relaxed state. And so I'm learning all this. I need to learn for myself because, again, I'm more of a shoulder, chest breather and instead of a relaxed belly breather. If you're a singer or people, they have to learn how to do this. But there's a method called Buteyko. It's out there online. You can look it up. It's extremely helpful, but it's the way we're meant to breathe and the relaxation way to breathe. But I'm going to start working with her on that. I've sent her some information and try to work on slowing the breathing down, because one of the symptoms of the fast breathing is headaches, just because so many things I could explain, takes forever. But whenever things happen like there's stress, I know for her, stress, exercising, and eating, actually, she eats really fast. Those are things that can trigger headaches or migraines, because she always has headaches. And that can be from when you're eating fast, you're also breathing fast because everything's just going fast. When you're exercising, obviously you're breathing fast. And when you're stressed, whether you realize it or not, I know when I'm working on patients and I can tell they're in pain or something's not quite right when their chest starts breathing faster, and I see that. And so that's a response mechanism to stress. And so those things, when you're already off on your breathing and then you start breathing like that can trigger it more and can increase the stress even more. It triggers all those things like headaches and tension in the neck and things like that. So something we're going to be working on for her, for me, for all my kids, is to just slow the breathing down, and learn how to belly breathe and trigger that vagus nerve. Something else I learned, which I thought was very intriguing, that I felt like relates to her, is whenever we're doing like our training, our therapy on patients, one thing we have to look for is bracing. And I see this in Caitlin because she has had 5 concussions. And with that and different things, and when you're on edge, which a lot of people are when they're tired, there's a connection there with anxiety. So I'm chasing another rabbit trail, but there's a connection there with when you're tired, there's anxiety because the stimulation is much. And so when you're on edge, also, you tend to brace. And there can be a life of just, you're constantly living bracing, and you hold it in your shoulders and neck, and just your whole body is just kind of tense, and you don't even realize it. And so whenever we are working with patients, a lot of times they'll just be tense and working on the therapy and stuff like that. So for her, especially because she's had 5 concussions, your brain, it's kind of like save yourself. So it does what it can to protect it. So it tenses up, and she would be quicker to tense at stimuli, which causes bracing, along with just being tired, causing more stimuli to cause threat. And so you brace. So that is another thing that we're having to work on, is just kind of relaxing everything. And something I told her that she needs to start trying to do is to lay down on the ground. They say that's a neutral position, not a bed, not a couch, but on the ground. Put your body in a neutral position where it can just relax, and just slow the breathing down and focus from the tip of your head going down every single muscle and just making it relax. It's something that the first key to getting help from that is just being aware of it, and that, oh, I'm tight here, I'm holding this here, and things like that, and just, okay, I've got to let it go. Got to let go the stress, let go the tension, and just relax. And that can help relax all the muscles. On a side note, I know I had put my neck out or something and I was working on a patient or what, but in the middle of the night, I was hurting really bad and I couldn't sleep, just in shoulders still tight. And I did some things, did some stretches, and then I laid down and it was just hurting. And I realized I was tightening it. And when I made myself just relax it, the pain pretty much went away. And I was like, wow, that's how that works. So it can help with pain. I'm not saying it makes it go away all the way, but it just, as far as general pain from tension and from all that, just focusing on not bracing and just letting it go. I know a term Caitlin always uses on whenever we're holding on something that we're stressing them out, like think of a balloon, you're letting it go. And that's how she can apply it to her. Just think of that balloon and you're just letting it go, just letting your body fully relax. And I think that's huge, that and the deep breathing to kick in that parasympathetic, which is rest and digest and calm. That's essential in letting the pain go as well. That should help some. So we're working on that, working on breathing. I am getting close to being ready to start with myofunctional therapy with her, training with her. As I learn some exercises, I'm going to start doing that. That will help shrink her tongue a little bit because it makes it more tone, which will help with the airway space in her mouth. That also helps just train her to relax muscles in her face and her neck and all that, which will help. And so yeah, seeing if I forget anything. That's about it. So we're going to work on things that we see now that we can work on. I mean, in my mind, it's like, oh, can we just like get it all done? But I've realized with her, and I've told her this, that it has taken years and years to get to the point that she's at, where she's in pain all the time and things are just a mess. And it's going to take a while to unravel that knot and get everything where it needs to go. And it's going to take a lot of time and work on her part. And I told her there were going to be some exercises or things that I tell her to do that's going to be like, that's really weird, but it works. And it's just a matter of sticking with it. Kind of like it's hard to stick with physical therapy sometimes. Some people will do it and some people won't. And you only get the help when you put the energy and time into it. So anyway, I will keep you guys posted. We'll know more on August 27th, hopefully. And if some of these therapies start working for her, I'm definitely going to report that. I can't work with her much now. She's down at a camp working, just pouring herself into kids and stuff at a camp, which is good because she's not letting this hold her back. She's just pressing forward, but she's still in pain. She texted this morning and said, is there any way I can get an oxygen tank? Because that's the only thing right now that gives her relief is the oxygen. But it's like, well, it's honestly, it's one thing I've learned real quick. What I told her is that we have enough oxygen generally in our blood, and she can tell that. She's got an Apple Watch, gives her our oxygen levels, but it's not a case of not having enough oxygen in the blood. It's that when we're not breathing well, our bodies, and it's not triggering to release the oxygen from the hemoglobin to our organs. So it's a matter of slowing that breathing down and being mindful of that so that it can function the way it's supposed to, and it can release those oxygen molecules into our organs. So more on that later. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below. Thanks.